Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for visiting the YouTube channel for bestbiblecommentaries.com. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 well-reviewed standalone commentaries from the Old Testament. And in my next video, I'm going to talk about 5 well-reviewed standalone commentaries from the New Testament. A standalone commentary means that it's not a part of any series. Before I dig in, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Clicking that like button really helps me out. And feel free to leave a comment or ask a question down below. Now, some of us who use Bible commentaries are fans of particular series. I know that there are some commentary series out there where I'm going to be interested in using any volume that the series produces because it's such excellent quality, and I've found other volumes in the series very helpful. Perhaps you're the same way. What can sometimes happen, though, is we miss some of the standalone commentaries because they aren't in a series. So I wanted to do a couple of videos and just highlight some of these volumes so you don't miss them because they could be helpful for your purposes. I'll put links to these down below, so if you're interested in acquiring those, I invite you to use those links. I'll put them in the description box. The first one that I'll talk about is Exodus by Victor Hamilton. Victor Hamilton has some well-reviewed commentaries in other series. The NICOT series, I think, is his Genesis volume comes to mind, but he has some other ones as well. This volume is semi-technical, so it's mid-level, leaning toward the technical end, but there's a couple of reviewers that called it semi-technical, so that's why I'm just repeating their terminology. It was published in 2011, and it is 711 pages in length. So what I'm going to do for each of these 5 commentaries is I'm going to share with you an academic review that highlights the strengths and some of the characteristics of each of these volumes. But I purposely picked these volumes because they are well-reviewed, so you can just know that. So it's easy to find things in this commentary. I like when they have the chapter and verse in bold in the column, because you can easily find what you're looking for. All right, so the academic review comes from Trinity Journal. And the reviewer says, the strengths of this commentary are Hamilton's streamlined, straightforward explanation of each pericope, his deft consideration of connections with the rest of the Old Testament and New Testament canon, his interaction with a variety of scholars, and his well-known expertise in A&E. A&E, if you don't know that term, or that those initials, A&E, that stands for Ancient Near East Literature, and that's one of Hamilton's areas of expertise. So, continuing with the strengths. His well-known expertise in A&E parallels and social backgrounds. So, there's a half a dozen strengths right there listed in this review from Trinity Journal. And the conclusion of the review is that pastors and teachers in the church will find this an excellent resource on the book of Exodus. So I would say this is one of the top conservative approaches to the text. This one and probably Douglas Stewart's are among the highest ranked as far as a conservative approach to the book of Exodus. So, and it's a standalone commentary. So that's from Baker Publishing, by the way. All right, the next one is Isaiah by Alec Motyer. Some of you will be familiar with his work in the Bible Speaks Today commentary series, but he has written a lot of books. So this commentary is 544 pages in length. I would describe it as a mid-level commentary. There is some interaction with the Hebrew. If I remember correctly, it's all transliterated, though. Yeah, it looks like all the Hebrew is transliterated, so I think it's firmly in the mid-level category. Now, so here's what's interesting about this one. So this volume that I'm showing you here was published in 1993, and then a condensed version of this was published in 1999 for the Tyndale Old Testament. Yes, the Tyndale Old Testament Commentary Series, the TOTC series. So some of you might be saying, well, it's not standalone because Motyer has the Isaiah volume in the TOTC series. This one is fuller. The one in the TOTC, even though it doesn't say it on the cover anywhere, it's more of an abridged version of this volume. So the best review, so that version, if you have the TOTC version, it's fine. It's well reviewed on its own, but this is even better reviewed, has even better reviews because there's just more depth to it. So the academic review that I have for this one is from the Master's Seminary Journal. And the reviewer says, "It is difficult to control one's enthusiasm while describing the merits of this commentary." That is powerful praise, isn't it? What a review. Okay, so it is difficult to control one's enthusiasm while describing the merits of this commentary. And the reviewer says, throughout the article, he says, he loves that Motyer argues that Isaiah is the author of the entire book. That's actually not common. It's not a common perspective with modern commentators on Isaiah. There's at least two, sometimes more than two authors, according to the view of some modern commentators, but not Motyer's. He thinks Isaiah wrote the entire book. And the reviewer also loves that Motyer recognizes that the messianic hope, what Motyer calls and others call messianic hope, is Isaiah's central theme. Motyer strongly defends Christ-centered interpretations of messianic text. There's even some conservative commentators on Isaiah that don't do that, by the way. So he defends Christ-centered interpretations of messianic texts. His end times perspective is a little bit interesting. If you had to put him in a category, I would probably put it in the amillennial category. But interestingly, he does in places discuss a restoration of Israel as well. And in some passages, he also describes what you would call a dual fulfillment, what other perspectives might call a dual fulfillment. And so, anyway, but I would still put it in the amillennial category. Okay. The third one is Creation and Blessing. Actually, the book behind it's going to fall down, so I'm going to do this one first. Man Overboard. Oh, do you know this book? It's an interesting little commentary. It's a neat little commentary. Sinclair Ferguson. So that tells you if you know Sinclair Ferguson. This is a Reformed perspective on the book of Jonah. And it was originally published in 1982, but I think it was republished not long ago. Maybe like 10 years ago. Who does this? Banner of Truth. Yeah, Banner of Truth. I think they republished it. So there might be some different cover designs for this. This is one of the newer versions, I think. It's actually, I couldn't find any. Oh, there it is. It reprinted in 2015. So I couldn't find any academic reviews on this one. And what sometimes happens is that academic reviews will shy away from introductory works, and I think that's the case here, because I've seen other works of Sinclair Ferguson reviewed in academic journals before. But this one's only 93 pages, but still, I think it would be good for pastors. It would be good for Sunday school teachers. It would be good for reading with devotion, a daily reading or devotions or something like that. I think lay people and pastors would be really helped by Ferguson's insights. So I do consider this a well-reviewed commentary, though, because people, mostly online, that review and reflect on introductory commentaries usually rank this one pretty well. So that's why I include it among the well-reviewed on Jonah, even though I don't have an academic review to back that up. I'll just set this over to the side. By the way, I forgot to say at the beginning that I have 3 new releases in Bible Commentaries to show you at the end of this video. Okay, now let's go back to Creation and Blessing by Alan Ross, a guide to the study and exposition of Genesis. This was published in 1996, and it is 744 pages in length. Alan Ross, let's see, he wrote the Psalms volumes. I think it's 3 volumes altogether in the Kriegel Exegetical Commentary series. And so he's written other commentaries, other books as well. So, all right, the review I have is from the Journal for the Evangelical Theological Society, JETS for short. The quality of creation and blessing seems to require superlatives. As a resource for preaching, it surpasses Von Rad, Westermann, and Brueggemann. It models the kind of writing that those who teach must give to those who preach to facilitate accurate and rich exposition. I love that line. That is an excellent line. I'm going to read it again. It models the kind of writing that those who teach must give to those who preach to facilitate accurate and rich exposition. In the conclusion, indeed, reading the book is an excellent course in studying and expounding narrative literature. It's a Baker publication. One of the things I like about this commentary is it's really easy to find what you're looking for with the bold headings, and the type size isn't too small. There's outlines as well, which can be helpful to preachers and teachers too. You can tell that Ross has taught through Genesis when you're using this commentary. So it's mid-level, and so I think pastors or Sunday school teachers would do really well with it. All right. And the last one before I get to the new releases is Micah by Bruce Waltke. Bruce Waltke has written other resources that you might be familiar with. This standalone commentary was published in 2007. It is 480 pages in length. I would call this a mid-level commentary, leaning more toward the technical side than end of the spectrum than the mid-level. But I think pastors would do fine with this. Pastors, if you're not, if you don't know Hebrew, I think you would do okay with this resource. I think there would be a lot of takeaways for you. It's 480 pages. Can't remember if I said that. 480 pages. The review I have is from the Southwest Journal of Theology. The reviewer says, with meticulous precision, Bruce Waltke has produced an excellent resource for advanced students on the text of Micah. Waltke advocates a traditional and conservative view of the authorship and date of the book. He explains how particular passages find ultimate fulfillment in the New Testament through the person and work of Christ. And then the reviewer, in his conclusion, he says, it is an asset to any serious Bible student's library. I enthusiastically recommend it. So again, that's Bruce Waltke's standalone on the book of Micah. All right, so I have 3 commentaries I want to show you that are new releases that I got in the mail the last few months probably. The first one I'll show you, I think I've mentioned this in a few different videos now, and it's finally out, and that's N.T. Wright's commentary on Galatians. Now, when I first saw this advertised online and in the catalog, wasn't quite sure if it was a standalone commentary or not, but based on what the publisher has told me, it looks like that this is the first in a new commentary series that Erdman's is doing. So it's called Commentaries for Christian Formation. I don't think there's any other volumes out in this series. I think this is the first one. So this is the first one I'm aware of anyway. And so this is, so I think I've mentioned this in the video I did a few months ago on just upcoming commentaries this year. I think I also mentioned this in my video on the New Perspective on Paul, because N.T. Wright is at the forefront of arguing for the New Perspective on Paul. And to date, his commentaries, his New Testament commentaries, have been on the more introductory side. So this is definitely more on the mid-level side. I haven't spent a lot of time with it yet, but it's not unreasonable to expect that there will be a lot of information on the new perspective on Paul in this volume. So I think it looks to be mid-level. I think the design is for pastors, perhaps students as well. So that's N.T. Wright, Commentaries for Christian Formation, Book of Galatians. It just came out a few months ago. All right, the next one is, there's a lot of volumes coming out in this series. I think pastors are finding this series very helpful. Story of God, Bible Commentary, Exodus. Christopher Wright, he's written some excellent commentaries, some excellent biblical studies resources. So I can understand why Zondervan would ask him to write this volume. So his work has been well reviewed. Sunday school teachers, I think, would do fine. I would describe this as probably introductory, maybe mid-level for some, but I think for most it would be introductory. Excuse me, an introductory resource that pastors would find helpful. Pardon me. All right, the last one is the Gospel of John Through Old Testament Eyes is the name of this series. Now, you might not be familiar with this series. I believe there's just one other volume in this series so far, and that's the Gospel of Mark. It came out a few years ago, I think this is just the second volume in the series. Karen H. Jobe, some of you might be familiar with her work. She's a very, very well reviewed writer. She wrote, let's see, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John in the Zondervan Exegetical Commentary in the New Testament series. She wrote Esther in the NIVAC series, NIV Application Commentary series. It's probably one that I'm missing too, but she has 3 or 4 very well reviewed commentaries, and I think this is going to be fascinating. I think my anticipation is it's going to be very well reviewed, and through Old Testament eyes. That's going to be an interesting focus of this series. It's a Kriegel publication. It's gotten good reviews from Craig Blomberg, Janine Brown, and two very well reviewed commentators in their own right. So looks to be mid-level, and I haven't spent a lot of time with it, honestly. But just wanted to show it to you that's out there now, and hopefully in the future, as the academic reviews come out for these new volumes, I'll be sharing more information about them. But when I get new releases, I just would like to show them as soon as I can. So thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching my videos. Really appreciate it. And thank you for visiting bestbiblecommentaries.com.